Abyss Sky Scourge deck. I'm only using one Sky Scourge, which is Norleras. Of course, Phantom of Chaos, so I can utilize this effect. In this deck, you can summon it. You'll be using Mecha Equip Engineer as your like fairy. And of course, you have plenty of Dark Fiends in your deck. You know, right, that you can use to summon him. So it is possible summoning him by his own summoning condition, but on average, it is better to mill him to the graveyard and use Phantom of Chaos to get the effect off. So of course you have Phantom of Chaos. Once per turn you can target an effect monster in your graveyard, bash that target until the end of the turn. This card's attack becomes that monster's this card's name, and attack becomes that monster's name and attack, and it gains that monster's effects. You must control the face of a card to activate him to resolve this effect. Sky Scourge Norleras. This card cannot be normal summoner set. This card cannot be special summoned except by removing from play one light fairy type monster and 3 dark fiend type monsters in your graveyard. You can pay 1,000 life points to send all cards on the field and in both players' hands to the graveyard, then draw 1 card. So its ability is like Chaos Epic Dragon, send all cards on the field and hand from both players to the graveyard. But the difference is, instead of burning your opponent for 300 damage for each card sent to the graveyard by this effect, you get to draw a card. Now the good thing about this effect is you're getting a +1, right? From using this effect, you're getting a +1 from it. But also the Burning Abyss monsters do get their effects when they're sent to a graveyard by this effect. So after he resolves his effect, and you get your +1, you will get the Burning Abyss effect, and you know, reestablish your field, right? And then you can just attack your opponent freely. Don't have to worry about back row, because those cards will be gone. Don't worry about hand traps, because those will be gone. Your opponent won't have nothing to stop you from pushing for game or just damaged in general. So that's an awesome aspect of his ability. Plus just the whole fact that he sends, not destroys, so Starlight Road, Stardust, stuff like that won't stop it. Monsters that can't be destroyed will be sent to the graveyard, not destroyed. So this is good against Belzy. Monsters that can't die by battle, like Spirit Reaper, stuff like that. This is great against stuff like that. This effect is good against, definitely good against Shadal Winda. You know how she can't be destroyed by card effects. Well, this doesn't destroy, this sends. And you know, the list goes on and on. And also doesn't activate the Dark World's effects. It does activate the Shadal's and Burning Abyss effects, but it doesn't activate Dark World's effects. So it's just something to point out. Some people like that bit of information, right? So it's a powerful concept. I mean, you can set it up relatively easy, especially if you mill. And let's say if you mill Phantom of Chaos, use Monster Reincarnation to add it back to your hand, summon it, banish, pay 1,000, go off. It's worth it, paying 1,000 to make your opponent top deck. Gotta love that. The beauty of this scenario is, if you start off in your beginning hand with a Phantom of Chaos, maybe a couple Burning Abyss monsters, right, and Foolish Burial, you can go off, play Foolish, send Norleras to the graveyard, summon Phantom of Chaos, activate the effect by banishing, right, pay 1,000, send all cards in both players' hands to the graveyard, then you get your +1, get your draw, then get your Burning Abyss's effects off, just go crazy, and you automatically made your opponent top deck, and you have field advantage, you have card advantage over your opponent right off the bat. So it's kind of like the wind up hand loop in a way, you know what I mean? So yeah, I like that. As is, this sends, not discards. don't have to worry about activating Dark Rose effect. This effect, of course, this scenario can be stopped by Veiler, of course, but it can't be stopped by Max C. You know, that type of stuff. Like, Veiler will be your opponent's only hope for stopping this. You know, if you got the Veiler, you got the Veiler, right? But either way, you know, this deck is powerful enough to beat them regardless. But if you get this effect off, it's awesome. Anyway, continuing on, you should know by now the Burning Abyss is individual effects. This one summons from the graveyard, this one's from the deck, and during the end phase, this one can let you add a dark level 3 fiend type monster from your deck to your hand. Typical target is Tour Guide, but you can add any of the other Burning Abyss monsters. Tour Guide, normal summon, special summon from your hand or deck, a level 3 fiend type monster, and the effect of that monster will be negated, so the Burning Abyss monsters won't self-destruct because of her ability. And then you can exceed into Dante or any rank 3 that you need. Lila, target one spell trap card on the field, switch the battle position of this monster to defense mode and destroy that card. During your end phase, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. That part of the effect is in effect. It can be negated by skill drain, like imprisoning. So can the first part of the effect, but just pointing out the milling part is an effect, not a cost. Unlike Raiden's first part of his effect is a cost. Dante's detach, send up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. That's a cost, not an effect. That also cannot be negated. That will resolve regardless because it's a cost. And she's a 4-star. You can exceed into a rank 4 with her. Battle Fader. Oh, of course, during the end phase you mill 3 cards. That effect will activate the Burning Abyss's effect, so that's part of why she's in there. That and the fact that she's your MST to get rid of the Shadow Imprisonings or whatever else you need to get rid of. Of course, Roll of the Creed helps with that as well, to negate them. Battle Fader, hand trap, gotta have some type of defense, right? Gotta avoid them OTKs. Plus, by this being in your hand, your opponent might not see it coming, so they'll overextend, summon a whole bunch of monsters, waste their whole hand trying to end you out, and you just drop Battle Fader and then just end the battle phase. This cannot be negated by Shadow Imprisoning, skill drain, because the ending the battle phase is part of its summoning condition, not an effect. So that makes it awesome. You can overlay, 2 Battle Faders and create like a magician for extra defense, right? Start a win. Exodios. This will let you recycle all your cards, all your monsters, all your extra deck monsters, so you can reuse them again and again and again. You get 2 Exodios on the field, overlay them, make Gustav max. So you have a nice little 3000 beater. Plus, if their XYZ materials still go to a graveyard, not out of play. Which means you can constantly recycle them by just summoning another one and putting the other ones back in the deck. So you could keep basically infinitely looping all your monsters. Rank up magic lets you rank up into good stuff like Bram, Pleiades, Tyrus, number 69, numbers Chaos 69. I mean, so yeah, some good options to rank up into. During your draw phase, you can skip your draw phase to add this back to your hand, so that's useful. So you can reuse it over and over again. Monster Reincarnation, this will let you get anything you want from the graveyard, even an Exodio, so you can recycle all your monsters if you want, or Phantom of Chaos, or even Norleras himself. You can summon him, activate his effect, even if he gets Vader, that's okay. You still got a 2400 that you can beat your opponent down with, right? Spell Shadowing Arrow. Obviously, it's going to be useful against pendulum monsters, but it's also good against a lot of face-up continuous spell card. It's also useful when your opponent doesn't play a lot of face-up spells, but he does play some spell cards like MSTs, Duality, whatever, feels, even though not feels, but Upstart Goblin, stuff like that. Soul Charger, of course. You can use this to deal them some damage, which is always good. The more damage you deal your opponent, the better. This is useful if your opponent plays a couple spell cards in a chain. You can chain this to the last card and deal your opponent a lot of damage. So that's always good. Royal Decree helps you, shut down a lot of traps. Stuff like Deep Prison, or Warning, Mirror Force, Boundless. Just by activating it, it'll be face up and they'll just take care of your trap issues. Microcosmo, Dimensional Fissures. Not Dimensional Fissures, I mean Microcosmo, Shadow Imprisoning, maybe even Light Imprisoning. Since a lot of the monsters you exceed into are light, it would be more preferable for your opponent to run Light Imprisoning against this deck as opposed to playing Shadow Imprisoning. Because Shadow Imprisoning will not stop you from just special summoning your Burning Abyss monsters and then just overlay into a Dante, and then ranking up into like Pleiades or you exceed into a Engineer and ranking up into a Tyrus and then attacking and then popping at Skill Drain. Not Skill Drain, Shadow Imprisoning, right? And then boom, now all your Dark Monsters effects are alive again. So this deck obviously is a balance of light and dark with a couple extra attributes thrown in. But your main weapons are clearly light type monsters. So some people will be like, oh, that's the dark deck, let me put Shadow Imprisoning, and don't even realize that your main weapons, the things you use the most, are light type attribute monsters. So they actually cited in wrong. But hey, good for you, bad for them, right? But in case they were smart enough to cite in right and they put in Light Imprisoning, you got the Royal Decree to deal with it. You got the Delilah won't do nothing against Light Imprisoning, but the Royal Decree will. So hopefully they're not smart enough to use Light Imprisoning. Foolish Burial. Obviously, this will help you go first turn. Chaos of Phantom, Phantom of Chaos, and Norleras, combo and just wreck your opponent's life. So that's just a really awesome combo, and it, playing Burning Abyss, it doesn't hurt to use that ability. So because you'll actually plus out of it instead of negating like your opponent will. So it's the main reason why I decided to put that together, because it just gives you another powerful effect. But also it's useful to send any of your Burning Abyss monsters to graveyard so you can activate their effects. It's also useful if you summon, if you have 2 Exodus in your hand, you summon one, right? Return all your monsters back into your deck, and then you play Foolish Burial, sending a Burning Abyss monster, like let's say Skarn for example, to the graveyard. So you can activate his, that we can get his no, you don't want to do that, because he has to still be in the graveyard for you to get the effect. I keep forgetting that part. Doesn't matter, you can just send anything you want to the graveyard. It wouldn't matter, it'll go back into the deck, right? And then send it back into the deck, drop another YUGIOH. Overlay into Gustav Max, you know what I mean? Attached to your opponent 2,000 damage. That alone probably could just win you a duel in certain situations, of course. Slacker Magician, mainly just to start with the win. And it's a light type, so Shadow Imprisoner won't do shit against it, obviously. Chronomile Crystal Chrononaut, light type. That's also good. Plus it's 2100. It's decent enough attack. It can go head to head with. It could take down, Sky Blaster. It could take down a number 101 that ran out of materials. Let's see. there's tons of monsters you can clearly take down with a 2100. You know what I mean? Also, with the other reason it's in the deck is so you can rank it up into a 4000 number. Chaos 69, Heraldry, Crest of Horror. He has the effect that when your opponent attacks with a monster, you can destroy all your opponent's cards, including that monster. Yeah, I love that. So your opponent definitely does not have any plans to attack while this is on the field. And it's a nice low 4000 beater, so can't argue with it. As you can see, it's relatively easy to make it with rank up magic using Chrononaut. Then he has also his own effect. Once per turn, when this card is targeted for an attack, you can detach one XYZ material from this card. This turn, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Also, your opponent takes any battle damage you would take from battles involving this card. So this is a pretty nice, awesome card. But because it has that effect, no one's going to attack it. Just like no one's going to attack this bad boy. But you will attack your opponent, so that's all that matters. Ghost Trick Alucard. He is dark, but again, gotta have a balance of different attributes. He helps you pop sets, which is always useful. And he's 1800, not bad. Then you can also rank him up into Crimson Knight Vampire Bram. He has the effect that you can detach a material, target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon that target to your side of the field. Only that monster can attack for that turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard during your next standby phase, during the next standby phase after this card was destroyed by your opponent's card effect or by battle, it will special summon in face-up defense position. So it's a floater, which is pretty decent, right? Nice little 2500 floater. Wind up Zen main, fire attribute is definitely useful in scenarios where, let's say, somebody does have light imprisoning mirror on the field. You can make him using the Burning Abyss monsters, of course, and then you can ram this into one of your opponent's monsters. It's stronger than him or equal to the power, whichever way, it doesn't matter. Detach material, of course. Get whatever Burning Abyss effect you can get. Then during the end phase, you can pop any card on the field, like Light Imprisoning, for example, or Shadow Imprisoning, or whatever is there that you have to deal with. Plus, it's a nice little 2100 defense, 1500 attack is not too bad. So at least you can attack with it, not just defend. Also, if it would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can detach a material to prevent it from being destroyed by battle or card effect. Of course, during the end phase in the turn in which you activate that effect, you get the ability to destroy one card on the field. Typically, you use that for back row, but you can use it on monsters. Exciton Knight, generic Grand 4. During your main phase or your opponent's battle phase, you can detach one material from this card, destroy all other cards on the field except this card. Your opponent takes no battle damage. Your opponent takes no battle damage or effect damage for the rest of the turn. You have to have less cards than your opponent. Typically, you play this when you're at a disadvantage and your opponent has a lot more advantage than you. That's when you play this, typically. But there might be the rare occasions where you're just one less card than your opponent because you exceed summon or something, and that's just enough for you to use the effect. And of course, this helps you get rid of your opponent's back row, which is always important. And he's a light, so if your opponent's using Shadow Imprisoning, you can use. If you have two Phantom of Chaos, you can use both of them to make Exciton. Or if your opponent has multiple back row, you can use Lila's effect to get rid of a back row, or just summon her with a Phantom Chaos. Where you get the opportunity, of course, and go into Exciton. You won't typically do this, but if you're ever in the position to do this, it's it's there. Sky Blaster, of course, doesn't destroy. You can detach one material, put one monster face down, or detach two materials and target one face up card and shuffle it back into one's deck. Typically, we use this on stuff you don't want to go to the graveyard, like Shadow Construct, Dante. He gets his effect if he goes to the graveyard. Any of the Burning Abyss, hands, whatever, you know. Even it's good just to get rid of a monster that can't be destroyed by battle card effect, or just a monster that's just too strong. Get rid of it, or a spell card that's getting in your way, you know, or a field or a continuous trap card is getting in your way. You can get rid of it with this. As a 2000 attacker, you can attack the turn use this effect, so gotta love that. Gustav Max, detach material, deal 2000 points of damage to your opponent, and it's a 3000 beater. You can attack in return use this effect, so that's also awesome. I already mentioned his effect. Pleiades. You can make him by ranking up Dante. During either player's turn, once per turn, you can detach one material from this card, target one card on the field, and return to the hand. Since that effect doesn't destroy, stuff like Stardust can't stop it. Also useful against monsters that can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. It's useful against monsters you don't want to destroy, because you don't want them to get their destruction effect. So this is good against Yang Zings, Shaddolls, Burning Abyss. What else? Tons of stuff. Clearly, it's a really good effect. You can use this to get rid of back row. You know what I mean? Your opponent sets a card, ends his turn, activate the effect, bounce it back to his hand, so you don't have to worry about him activating it or chaining it during your turn. So that's always awesome. Tyrus, Keeper of Armageddon. This card's effect can only be applied and resolved while it has XYZ materials. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects while he still has materials, right? At the end of the battle phase, if this card attacks or was attacked, target one card your opponent controls, destroy that target. It's good to get rid of, back row or monsters, but typically you'll try to get rid of back row with it. During your end phase, detach a material from this card. And I already said the way you rank up into it is by using Mecha Equip Engineer. Number Chaos 69, Eldritch Crest of Harm. The way you make them is use rank up magic on Chronomancy Crystal. Chrononaut. He's a 4000 beater. He has technically doesn't have an effect, so to speak. Since you don't use number 69 Eldritch Crest as a material, you rank up using Chrononaut instead. The only ability you get is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. But no one's going to attack knowing that that's going to happen, so that effect won't really be used. But he's a 4000 beater, and that you will use. Mecha Equip Engineer. It's a light berry, so you use it for Sky Scourge, Norleras. But it also, this is a nice little 1800 beat stick. You can attack your opponent for 1800, and then once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach a material from this card, target one face-up attack position monster you control, change it to face-up defense, and if you do, it cannot be destroyed by battle by card effects that turn. Good, definitely good effect, good for stalling, and the fact you can attack and defend, gotta love that, right? The typical target you use that effect on is himself, but you can use it on other things, but typically you use it on himself. There's two of them, so that way you have ability to use them multiple times, plus you can use them in case you do banish one to bring out Sky Scourge Norleras. Since there's no way of returning what's removed from play back into play, right? In this deck, it's a good idea to have an extra one just in case, mainly for you just to use it for what you need to use it for its effect. But you could always reuse it. You could always banish the second one if you're ever in a situation where you need to re-summon a Norleras and 2 Dantes, because the more the merrier. I typically get typically summon 2 Dantes in a single turn. That tends to happen a lot. Like, I'll say like 70% of the time when I'm playing Burning Abyss, I get double Dantes. I've actually had triple Dantes once, but typically you can double Dante, so that's useful. And the more the merrier, because if your opponent tries to be slick and like karma cuts one of your Dantes, you do have a backup. So I would prefer to max out on 3 Dantes and of course max out on 3 Engineers, but this is what I'm working with right now since the extra deck is tight. And that's the end of the deck profile.